It's about damn time. Ladies and gentlemen, I told you I was going to bring you something much more positive than the Saints Row reboot. I was going to bring you something that's a blast of the past, and I am delivering it. This is probably the start of one of the most criminally underrated franchises that Koei ever made that recently got bastardized by a remake. It's Samurai Warriors Xtreme Legends. And let me assure you one thing. The commercial that came for this definitely took me by storm, because the one thing that I managed to see upon playing Dynasty Warriors and also seeing the trailer for that too, which is what this was at first, but this is actually the intro of the game, is Yukimura Sanada kicking ass, taking names, and one-man armying the entirety of Tokugawa's army. Needless to say, or should I say Nobunaga's army, but needless to say, Yukimura solidified himself as the badass of this series because of that one cutscene. In fact, all the characters in some way, shape, or form are badass. You can't really define a villain because of the fact that, well, they live by a credo, might makes right, which sets them worlds apart from the Dynasty Warriors characters, because, as we all know, that Shu bias made Sao Sao a villain. Literally. But nonetheless, folks, seeing that trailer and the intro and seeing this guy right here annihilating people was pretty freaking cool. I knew I was in for one hell of a ride. And guess what? Then they made it to where we're able to play as Tadakatsu, Ina, Hideyoshi, and to an extent Yoshimoto and Magawa. It's still pretty fun to play as those characters due to the fact that those characters made a debut in Xtreme Legends, and it was pretty interesting to see how they play, and Ina happens to be one of the best ones. Aside from Tadakatsu, of course. But more importantly, this is a review to pretty much not only bring out the good, but also the bad. And more importantly, I'll do it the same way I normally do. Cover the cons first and then covers the pros. And there's a lot of good ideas that Koei should have brought back in other games, but nonetheless, you'll be seeing them all in the review of Samurai Warriors Xtreme Legends. If there was ever a problem that plagued this game and all of Dynasty Warriors and Samurai Warriors games, it's exclusivity. Not being able to get bonus points unlike the PS2 and the PSP version, exclusivity is your main problem, because those would make things a lot more comfortable to play if you manage to get the bonus points, and you'll have something to strive for, unlike the Xbox version. For characters that are only available for the PSP and the PS2 and not for the Xbox version, guess what? Exclusivity! That's something that cannot be helped. Being unable to get all of your stats because of the fact that you're locked at level 20, unlike in the PS2 and the PSP, well, guess what? That's an exclusivity problem, because you cannot get Samurai Warriors Xtreme Legends. I had to think about that for a second. Also, your character being absolute dog shit in stats because you tried to name scum and it ended up being a weaker character than what you had initially wanted. And you can't start and select in the PSP and the PS2. That's exclusivity because Xtreme Legends took away that start and select option from the game. Also, your stats are randomized as you try to name scum to power up your characters, and also your stats are randomized for any training course that you take while in free officer mode. So bear that in mind. It's not gonna be pretty, and also you're gonna have to go through 12 months and make sure your character's 90 or above with a weapon. Anyway, even after they're done, you're still gonna be grinding because you gotta get the clear time, experience, you gotta get officers, and also missions cleared. And you'll get bonus points from that and skills points, but that's it. Oh, and get used to the Battle of Okahazama, and also get used to Gold Rush, Deep Abyss, and High Tower, because they are going to be your home away from home, and you're going to be constantly grinding there every freaking time in order to reach level 20. I promise you that. And to make things even worse, you're going to be grinding for just about all the weapons and equipment that you probably need in order to survive, because you won't have that by default after you get out of the academy. Oh, and one more thing. With all the grinding you're going to be doing in Okahazama, there's one line that you're going to have to get used to hearing, and it's become a meme all this time.
Do not rest until we have taken Yoshimoto's head. Follow me. Do not fall behind.
Yeah, get used to hearing that, get used to seeing this area, and get used to seeing survival as well, because again, you're going to be seeing this over and over again. Also, I should also point out that yes, there are multiplayer modes, however, the PSP has a multiplayer mode as well, actually additional ones. Also, exclusivity. The problem? It's definitely a problem due to the fact that the PSP is a single console. Unfortunately for everyone, not everyone has a PSP nor Samurai Warriors State of War, which, by the way, you need 2 of in order for you to actually play multiplayer. Oh, by the way, you can play survival with multiplayer, but guess what? You'll end up having more maintenance than actual fighting. So yeah, survival may be your only best bet in order for to get some really good weapons in order for you to survive the likes of normal and hard. But still, you're going to be going here every single time because every character has to get up to a certain level in order to survive certain stages, and the grinding is going to be absolutely monotonous. Oh, by the way, at least you got infinite bow and arrows, but still, that's not going to stop the fact that the grinding is going to be goddamn ridiculous. And need I also say one more thing? In Xtreme Legends, there is a way for you to stop the never-ending pool of officers coming out of those barriers and strongholds that constantly come and attack you every time. Unfortunately, Samurai Warriors for the Xbox do not have that option. You can use the bow and arrows to shoot down those barriers in order for you to actually be free. Oh, and also, let me just point out another thing that is aggravating: the slowdown. Because, ironically enough, the slowdown exists in Samurai Warriors Xtreme Legends, and you feel that your character is moving slow and sluggish. That is until you get Matsuzuki, and once you get that, or Matsukaze, that's what it is. And once you get that horse, everything goes faster. Once you put on the speed boots, which I actually do have, but I didn't equip it because I forgot to do so for this review, everything will go absolutely faster. Because everything, and I repeat, everything is sluggishly slow once you start out at level 1. And for that, yeah, I don't think anybody want to go through that hell of having to go through level 1 and get every character in the game. Oh, and by the way, you can actually break strongholds too, even though you went there and put the stronghold down by shooting it with arrows. Again, at least you have infinite arrows, but still, that does not help anything. But whatever the case, folks, I think I'm done here with the complaints about the game. Now it's on to the pros. To say that difficulty actually matters in this game is an understatement. You see this guy? He's not only waiting at the top and the bottom of survival mode, but is also showing up in versus mode as well. Good luck with that. And while we're on the subject of multiplayer, even though I can't show it, there is a mode called Conquest where it's pretty much a counter-up of the Dynasty Warriors formula, which is something they should have brought back in later games, but they did not. And by counter-op, I mean you're trying to take down the ruler. But also, there are split paths in the story mode as well, and each tale is unique because certain split paths shows up in certain areas of the game, which means you can either make your path easier or harder depending on what mission you actually complete or not. And each character has their tale to tell, and more importantly, they are all unique. Yes, even Goemon, and yes, even Yoshimoto. I mean, at least they have much more originality than the remake or reboot of Samurai Warriors 5. And speaking of Yoshimoto, he's going to be the punching bag for everyone, as everyone's going to be training in Okazama just to actually gain level. While we're on the subject, we're going to have to talk about the combat, and not only the music. The music is actually pretty damn good, but more importantly, the combat. The combat is much more smoother than Dynasty Warriors, and more importantly, you don't have to get the level 3 or level 4 weapon to get the level 5 weapon. It'll randomly come to you once you get later on into the levels. Not to mention, there are certain abilities that certain people can have, like Hanzo can double jump, and also Kunoichi can double jump and go onto break walls. Also, there's Clash meter as well as Clash finishers, as you just saw what I did to Nobunaga. And not to mention the voice acting. Speaking of which,
behold the castle that was built in one day. What genius could have done this, you say? It's the Hideyoshi we praise. But who built the castle in just one day? Whee! It's Hideyoshi we praise. He built the castle in just one day.
The voice acting, in my opinion, is pretty damn good. It gets better by 3, but still, it's pretty damn good. And it's pretty damn hilarious, that is for sure. Now then, I do believe it's time for us to go to the rating. And with the pros and cons compiled, it's now time for the rating. Samurai Warriors Extreme Legends will get an astonishing. It would have gotten an RV-tastic were it not for the exclusivity, but exclusivity, grinding and slowing on aside, it brought about many mechanics that would be carried over to multiple games. This game is a pioneer. This game definitely ushered an underrated series, and it deserves the astonishing that it got. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm done with this review. I will see you all next time.